But we haven't talked about any of the Austin Powers movies yet.
We have not.
Just kind of fell into one of those where it was like we didn't talk about the first one because we had too much to talk about. Then the second one, we're like, we should probably talk about it, and it kind of ran into the same boat.
We've been talking about how we're going to talk about this for months.
So now we're going to talk about it.
It's time.
Flapjack and a cigarette? All right. Cigar and a waffle? No. Pipe and a crepe? No. Bong and a blintz?
No.
Oh, well, then there is no pleasing you.
Welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast. Coming at you from the Slice on Oak Studios. I am Mayor Dave Badeaux, the city brainer. With me, as always, is my brother.
That's why nobody sees my hair.
Whew, okay, well, we're back to some goodies, but some oldies, but that's okay. Hey, Gabriel Johnson, how are you? What's
I am awesome, Dave.
You are?
How are you?
Wow. Wow. Why so? Why are you so awesome?
Oh, I'm not really.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Be Kind Rewind 2002, part 2. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the year 2002. That's what we're talking about. We went through the news, media, pop culture, mostly television, some video games of 2002 last week. We are now on the portion of the podcast where we talked about movies. Thoughts on 2002 for movies? Scott, go.
A lot of bangers.
Yeah.
A lot of bangers. And sequels.
A lot of sequels. We'll get to the sequels. Gabe, what's your take on movies of 2002?
Good movies.
Yeah?
Watched a few of them. Watched Gangs of New York, Spider-Man.
Okay. You did watch Gangs of New York?
Yep.
Quick take on
Watched
Gangs
the
of New
sequel.
York.
Gangs of New York is a little too long.
Hold on. Is it a little too long for movies or is it a little too long for Scorsese?
I love Daniel Day-Lewis.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'll watch anything he's in. But
Yeah.
Gangs, it runs a little long.
Scorsese does miniseries and then calls them a theatrical release. I love Scorsese movies. They're great until about 2/3 of the way through, and you're like, Jesus Christ, there's an hour left. So, and Gangs of New York is probably the biggest culprit of that. Maybe The Aviator. That one is like, Jesus Christ, dude. I mean, do we got to talk about his entire life? What are we doing here? But Spider-Man. Let's talk Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Sony purchased the perpetual rights of Spider-Man movies for $7 million in 1999.
In perpetuity?
As long as they make one every
Okay.
6.5 years or something.
Yeah. I knew that was a part of it, that they had to continually make them. But it's every 6.5 years because they make one every 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they released the first one in 2002.
Okay.
Amazing Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire.
Yes.
Made over $800 million.
Solid investment.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marvel regretted it. And then made their own studio. But the Spider-Man movies have done over $10 billion
That's
since
crazy.
Sony purchased the rights.
That's crazy. And it's my favorite of the superheroes minus Batman. Batman's my favorite. Spider-Man's my second. This was a huge movie, though. And it was... So X-Men had already been out. I don't think X2 had been out. X2, I think, was 2003, maybe?
Not sure.
But the first X-Men had been out, which was kind of the first, little drip in the pond that would become the giant ripples in the ocean. But Spider-Man really set the tone for like, okay,
yeah,
you can do some cool stuff. What was your take having went back and watched it?
It holds up. I remember watching it when it first came out. It's like one of the only Marvel... It's not a Marvel movie, but it's the only like superhero movie I've ever watched.
Really?
But I watched it with my boys this weekend, and they thought it was awesome.
Okay,
And then we watched 2 and 3 after it.
Okay,
So-
good. That's what tells you if a movie's good. I just did that with Back to the Future with my kids. Like,
Nice.
YouTube turned it on. Like I had YouTube on, and all of a sudden YouTube's like, I think you want to watch a movie now. And I started watching, and it was with ads, but I just left it on. But then YouTube got weird on me because I was like, all right, we've watched the first Back to the Future. And then I fell asleep for a little bit, and I woke up to Back to the Future too, and it's like, YouTube, calm down. It's like, we really want you to watch Back to the Future. But my kids loved it, and that's a great sign of whether or not a movie holds up or not, is can it hold kids' attention?
Right.
And then are they clamoring?
Do they want to watch the sequels?
For the sequels, yeah.
How did your kids feel about Spider-Man 3?
Oh, yeah.
Only the little younger guy watched it.
Okay.
and he took a lot of breaks. So I don't think it was holding his attention. He would pause it and go outside and play wiffle ball for a while.
all right. You know what?
Makes sense.
You know what, Toby? I think I'm going to go outside for a little bit.
You keep dancing.
Yeah, that movie. That was one where I took a long pause before watching it. Same thing with one of the Star Wars movies as well. I think episode 3 or the third of the third trilogy. I hadn't watched it for years and then went and was like, it can't be that bad.
The number 9?
Number 9, yeah.
I did the same.
that
I did
bad.
the same
Yeah,
thing.
and it was that bad. Same thing with Spider-Man 3, though. It's like I waited years to watch Spider-Man 3. It's like, it can't be that bad. It was that bad.
They just piled up too many villains.
Yeah.
Like he had to fight how many people in the final sequence?
Yep.
Like 3 or 4, and then it was just ridiculous.
Yeah. You gotta have an ensemble for that you all go off and fight your own little dude real quick. And then they all merge together. But the first Spider-Man, it is the origin story, which, we get way too many origin stories now. But Spider-Man, I think the origin story is the most enjoyable of origin stories for a character in terms of a superhero.
Yeah, he's this dorky, wimpy kid.
Yeah.
Not a lot of friends.
Yeah.
Gets bit by a spider.
Gets bit by a spider. And then I kind of like now he's graduated, so what's he going to do? I could probably make some money off of being the Spider-Man if I take some photos of the Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So it's great. I also like, because I've said this a million times, but superhero movies are pretty childish, right? And it's fun, but it's a lot more fun when the superhero isn't taking themselves super serious. Like, come on, man, you're shooting webs.
Yeah.
That's one of the good things about Spider-Man. Is it's kind of campy. The comments he's making as he's fighting and all that is it's just it's for fun.
And he's enjoying himself, right? He's not brooding and taking it too serious. He's enjoying being a superhero. Also, a cameo from now deceased wrestling professional as well,
Yes.
Yeah.
which might be the best part of the whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, where
that's
you
where he gets
going? Nowhere.
Bonesaw's got you for 3 minutes.
3 minutes of heat time.
Also, a cameo by the late, great Stan Lee, who is the highest grossing actor in cinematic history. The movies he has appeared in have made over $30 billion.
Wow. Okay.
That's it?
And including Mallrats.
Yeah.
That's a great movie. Really kickstarted the whole thing going forward. And I think, again, the way this works with how we go year to year to year, yes, X-Men was a big deal, but X-Men was more like they didn't think it was going to succeed, and then it did pretty well. And then Spider-Man, they're like, hey, let's take a real stab at this, and it just exploded. So, and everyone was having a good time.
Right. They gave it a good budget. It was like $140 million. And it had been in development since like 1975, and it just never got the studio money behind it.
That's crazy. Yeah, you get all these weird stories of different actors that were supposed to play the different roles. Like Nick Cage was supposed to be Superman at some point.
That would have been so awesome.
And they have test footage of him. I think he has long hair even.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh God. He basically looks like what's his name in Con Air?
Cameron Poe.
But yeah, I always love how those movies kind of move their way through. Tober.
Toby
Toby does a great job.
He does. I like him a lot as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. Maybe the best casting ever.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Nails that role.
Nails that role to the point where now here we are 22 years later, and that GIF, multiple memes coming from that, and you can just hear the voice of those just still images of the guy.
I wonder if he still plays him in like animated things.
You would think they would try to, because I mean, you look at like the Joker and Mark Hamill, like he's still like, how many versions of that has he done?
Right.
So you'd think it'd be the safest bet, and that's just easy money. As an actor, that's easy money. You show up, you record lines for 8 hours straight. You're like, I don't even know what we're using this for, but we're gonna say it. And then you just go home and you never think about it again.
Unless you're John Lithgow.
Yeah.
That's who John Lithgow.
Not good for John Lithgow.
And you get really mad about it. A little salty. Nope. They decide. Nope. Not the right.
That was more than 8 hours. So that was like a year.
That was all a year.
They decided, nope.
No. Wrong voice.
I am not the right sound for this character. All right, so not a sequel, but spawned many, many sequels.
A lot of people say that Spider-Man 2 is the best sequel of all time.
I disagree to that, but it's a great movie.
I didn't say I said that.
Yeah. It has been said by other people. But yeah, I
Maybe
think
best superhero sequel, perhaps.
potentially. So I don't like the Marvel movies. I hate to admit that because there's so many people that love the Marvel stuff, especially like the Avengers. I think it's fun and the first couple are fun, but it's so daunting. You know, like as soon as Captain America was the one that just absolutely broke me, where I was just like, I loved the idea. It's like, oh, we're going to go back. And he's like in World War II. But by the end of that movie, I was just so over Captain America. And then he just comes in and he's a little too serious.
Yeah.
A little too, dude, you're throwing a shield. Okay?
And
Calm the fuck
Spider-Man
down.
in the Avengers movies calls out that thing does not obey the laws of physics.
Yes. Just stop taking yourself so fucking serious.
I went back and tried to watch the Marvel movies a couple years ago with my older son, and I like Googled like what order should I watch these in? And Captain America was, since it's back in World War II, like watch this one first.
No.
We got about 15 minutes in, and
Yeah.
Joe was like, "Do we have to?"
Yeah, no.
And I said, "No, we can shut it down."
The first Iron Man movie, I think, is great.
Yes, and that's coming up.
Yeah,
So, the first Iron Man movie might be the best of all the superhero movies.
I think it is. It's just like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, done.
Yep.
No, like very little fat on it.
I would put Spider-Man right there with it, though. Those would be my, 1A, 1B. But I also don't consider Batman comic book movies for whatever reason. Like they're I don't know.
Because you like that one.
Yeah, because I do. Because he's a detective. He's a detective. I like detective.
He's a vigilante.
He's brooding too. He's
very rude.
Yeah, he's taking himself a little seriously, is he?
Taking himself a little serious. All right, so but 2002 is the year of sequels. We said that off the top, and should we just go down a list real quick? You guys want to start shooting some at me?
Blade 2.
Blade 2.
Slapshot 2.
You guys are so stupid. It's like literally the end of my fucking list. Slapshot 2, I believe, is Baldwin. Is not Billy, but what the hell's his name? Stephen Baldwin.
Stephen, the best Baldwin.
I think so. We never did talk about Biodome. Go watch Biodome if you were looking to have a mediocre time.
Viva.
I watched that movie way too many times in my life. But Star Wars Episode 2, Two Towers,
Yep.
Lord of the Rings, obviously. Harry Potter, Chamber of Secrets, Men in Black 2.
There you go.
You said Blade 2. Spy Kids 2, The Santa Claus 2.
Oh, the Mrs. Claus.
The Mrs. Claus. Let's talk about that one just super fast. Let's give it a little bit of love because I think it deserves it.
It's a pretty decent movie. It's in the Christmas rotation.
They do a good job. The first two, they do a very good job. I think it's a little out of whack as they go. But for kids' movies for Christmas, pop it on. I'll watch 1 and 2. Why not? Let's go for it. Spy Kids 2, and whatever. I was a little old for Spy Kids. Blade 2, pretty good.
Yeah.
Blade 3, I think it was Blade Trinity, I think it's
Yeah.
called. That one's off the rails.
I don't know if I watched Blade 2. Blade 1 was excellent.
Blade 2 is still pretty good.
I guess that's a comic book
Yeah,
movie
yeah.
too. Kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, that's Marvel.
Yeah, it is actually, yeah. And that technically, I probably is going back. I mean, that's before X-Men.
Yeah.
So, but Men in Black 2, more of the same.
Yeah.
It's good. Did well. But your episode 2 is an interesting one for Star Wars. We don't
Clone
talk
Wars?
Clone Wars. We don't talk a lot about Star Wars, and mostly because now Star Wars sucks. I don't care if you think Star Wars is still good. Star Wars sucks now.
They need to add a gay woman.
Preferably of a different nationality. Star Wars went from being, cheesy, campy.
Cheesy, campy fun.
Yeah. To too here you go. Too fucking serious again. Stop trying to be serious with your fucking your space bugs. This force is space bugs. We don't need to fucking pretend that, we got midichlorians. That was in the first. That was in episode 1. Was midichlorians. Episode 2, don't they try to like further, like shift it a little bit? So they're like, that midichlorian stuff is,
I don't recall.
Episode 2 does have a sweet Yoda lightsaber scene.
That was the one where he flies around. Yeah,
that was the one thing it had going for it. That was big time.
Yeah, as a kid, seeing that in the theater at midnight when Yoda goes nuts, the whole place erupted.
Yes. Yeah. And that they did a good job in that with the colors of the lightsabers. And like now, again, too many Jedi, but then you could tell what was going to happen. The color of that lightsaber would tell you who's who. We should talk about this really fast. This is the Gumby era of special effects.
Okay.
This is when characters don't have spines and do a lot of whipping around and they're all gooey. The Matrix movies,
oh my God,
sequels,
so bad.
Yeah, the first Matrix movie is great in terms of its special effects. Matrix 2 and 3, he just turns into a piece of...
It's a
kind of
PlayStation
ruined
2.
Slapshot 2 as well.
the curve of that blade of that stick. But yeah, Blade 2 had some of it going on. The Clone Wars had it. I just watched Two Towers. Did you guys, when we talked about Lord of the Rings, did you go forward on any of those?
I don't think I finished it, but I probably got about halfway through that one. And what we said about the first one, that it's walking, the second one, that's all it is.
It's still just walking.
It's so much worse. It's so much worse. Because at least in the first one, it's just like, we're going to go from here to here, and they show the beginning, and then they show the end when they arrive at their destination.
Oh, we're here.
Yeah. In the second one, no, you just watch them walk the whole time.
Well, I will argue there's a lot of running.
Yeah, that's true, too.
Because you get to the point where Gimli and Aragorn and Legolas are trying to catch up with the stolen hobbits. The hobbits have been stolen. And they're in the land of horses, as I like to refer to it, Rohan or whatever the hell it's called. Everyone else is on horses because it's a prairie, and this is a land that you need horses. They're just fucking running.
Yep.
They're just running.
Why didn't they nab a horse?
I don't know.
Why didn't they fly on the eagles, actually?
Those are Gandalf's friends.
Pretty cool fights, though. Big battles. This one umps the battles a little bit.
Yeah.
You get, this is where Gandalf comes back in this one, doesn't he? I'm trying to remember now because I watched all 3 of them.
Yeah, I think he's Gandalf the White.
No, he's the
he
White.
saves the day
he
at the end.
He does save the day at the end. So yeah, Gandalf.
Look to the whatever.
So he does come back halfway through, tells the story of how all the shit we thought from the first one was bullshit. I fought the dude and we fell into a lake. No, you didn't. But that actually, I would say of all the sequels, Two Towers is probably my favorite of this bunch. Chamber of Secrets pretty good though too. Harry Potter, pretty good.
Chamber of Secrets is good.
I found out after we posted that Harry Potter 1, the Sorcerer's Stone, that's not what it's called.
The Philosopher's Stone.
It is called the Philosopher's Stone in most of the world, or at least in
how
England.
J.K. Rowling wrote it.
Yes.
In America, they changed it from philosopher to sorcerer.
And I had no idea. 20 odd years removed, I had no idea. People are like, what the fuck is the Sorcerer's Stone? It's like,
This is news to me.
There you go. See? Yeah. So who knows? Maybe they changed all of these. Anything else with the sequels? Any other movie in there you want to jump on? A lot of
Slapshot
sequels.
was pretty good.
The first Slapshot is a good slow movie. It's from the 70s, so it's slow moving, or maybe it's the early 80s. Slapshot 2, you've been waiting. Yeah, you've been waiting for it for
waiting 25 years, and it didn't disappoint.
Stephen Baldwin, you got him. He's coming. So not bad. Yeah. Okay. So I've got one real quick that is not a sequel. Can I jump in real fast with one that's not a sequel?
Allow it.
Okay. The movie Drumline.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
An okay movie. Shouldn't be, but okay. That's not bad. This is, I believe, the theatrical debut of one Charles Stone III. This is the director of this movie.
Charles Stone III.
Charles Stone Triple.
He's the drumline guy.
He is the drumline guy.
What else?
He is best known for Mr. 3000.
Never heard of it.
Really? Bernie Mac plays baseball?
Bernie Mac is retired and comes back to get his 3,000th hit.
Okay.
Paid in Full, also in 2002. So that may have actually been his directorial debut.
Never heard of it.
But you may have heard of this. This is a little commercial from the 90s. What's up?
Did he direct?
He was the director.
The director of the Budweiser commercials?
And the What's Up guy.
He is,
Or one of them.
I don't know if he is the What's Up guy. He's the director of the commercial. So I would call him, he is the creator.
Yeah.
Whether or not he actually did or did not.
Yeah.
He is the reason why we've got to listen to What's Up.
That's funny. My 7-year-old would come home from daycare, just open the door and what's up? It's a lasting cultural point.
Yeah, it looks like Drumline was his first full movie debut. He did a bunch of music videos as well. Tribe Called Quest, The Roots, stuff down that road. But yeah, there is actually under his credits in 2008, What's Up, 2008 short. So I have not watched it. It doesn't even have a photo. It just lists it in his stuff. It says, What's Up, 2008, short. He is the director of it. We'll have to look it up.
Well, the whole point of the What's Up is that's the only thing that's said.
Yeah, I don't know how you go beyond. Maybe it's a documentary. I don't know.
The 30-second commercial hits. You could maybe get a minute. You're going to a full-length short?
Yeah, it doesn't list What's Up commercial on here, so I don't know when that was. It was 97.
97-8, I would think
Yeah.
would be a Broncos Super Bowl.
Yeah. So you're, 2008. You're a decade removed from What's Up. So I don't know what we're doing a short on. I hope the short is very short, but we'll find out. Okay, moving on from there, let's go with a bit of goodness here. Right in front of us here, we've got 2 VHS tapes. We got a little collection of VHS tapes. Thank you to Jesse at Play and Trade. He gets lots of shout outs lately, but he's our nostalgia store guy. He had a bunch of VHS tapes where actually I wanted to kind of put some around the set. I have not got around to that, but we got him sitting here. However, the one from 2002 I do not have, which is Gold Member.
Austin Powers.
In Gold Member. Last episode we talked about Beyonce's debut. Beyonce's debut was Austin Members.
Gold Power.
Austin Members. Austin Powers Gold Member. Hey Gold Member. It was the song. That was her debut. So it wasn't an actual debut CD.
Oh.
Well, that was her debut individual solo performance?
Was
Wow.
I believe. And of course, as always, we could be wrong about everything.
Doesn't matter. We're confident about it.
We are very confident about it. But she stars alongside Mike Myers in Gold Member. I'm now Austin Members. But we haven't talked about any of the Austin Powers movies yet.
We have not.
Just kind of fell into one of those where it was like we didn't talk about the first one because we had too much to talk about. Then the second one, we're like, we should probably talk about it, and it kind of ran into the same boat.
We've been talking about how we're going to talk about this for months.
So now we're going to talk about it.
It's time.
Because we finally got to the last one. Thoughts on, let's go the whole series, but let's go specifically Gold Member and then work our way back.
So Gold Member is Fat Bastard, right? Mm-hmm. Oh,
Well, he was introduced in the second one.
He's introduced in the second one.
but we loved him, so we got a bigger role in the third one.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Love Fat Bastard. So Austin Powers, my take on the whole thing is great movie for the time and the place for our generation. For like this small sliver of kids who are going to think that type of humor is funny.
Yes.
And it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's James Bond parody. I love parodies.
Yeah, and specifically it's parodies of Our Man Flint, and then there was a bunch of James Bond knockoffs, some with like dudes from the Rat Pack and stuff. Like Dean Martin, I think, is in one that is specifically they are making fun of in these movies. But yeah, it's a spoof, is what it is. It's a spoof movie, but it's done very well. and it's bits.
Right.
It's very much Mike Myers, SNL. We're doing bits. And
I mean, even some bits straight from SNL.
Yes.
The having trouble controlling the volume of your voice
Yes.
is 100% just a bit from SNL that he put
Yes.
in the movie.
yes.
Probably others. That's the one example I have.
Well, he also, it has now become known that he totally ripped off Dana Carvey.
Sure.
So Mike Myers, Dana Carvey, pretty close. They do Wayne's World. The role or the character of Dr. Evil is a straight ripoff of Dana Carvey's impersonation of Lorne Michaels
Yes.
from SNL.
Oh.
Yes.
So much so that Dana Carvey was not happy about it.
They don't speak.
It was a breaking point because he straight up stole
Right.
his character and then used it again, like we talked about with doing voices for things. He's not playing Lorne Michaels, but he stole that character
Yeah.
He's doing Dana Carvey's Lorne Michaels
as a different character.
As a different character.
Yep.
To make lots and lots of money.
Lots of money. Lots of money. Not only that, but like merchandising. You know, so yeah, it broke their relationship from just straight up stealing a character. And then once you learn that, it is Lorne Michaels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's Dana Carvey. It's got a little bit of church lady in Dr. Evil even. Like it's yeah.
Right.
They're people looking back, and I guess Robin Williams was kind of this way as well. Robin Williams was known for stealing some jokes and just he was so
And being funnier than you.
well, he was so spastic that he would just throw them out and you know they're almost like throwaway. But yeah, Mike Myers is kind of becoming more and more known in hindsight for just straight up ripping dude's stuff off and then making boatloads of money with it. So my take on it, the first Austin Powers movie was fantastic. Total surprise. Total surprise. I was not super into James Bond growing up. Our oldest brother, he had a friend that their family was really into James Bond. So Rick would talk about these James Bond movies that they were always watching. And then GoldenEye
Yes.
came out, and before even the video game come out, I was like, this movie's awesome. Because in my time frame, James Bond didn't exist from 89 to 95. So, 6 years or whatever. And then I was like, oh, GoldenEye is sweet. So then I was kind of on board. Thought Pierce Brosnan was good. Now looking in hindsight, Pierce Brosnan is one of the worst Bonds. I'm a huge Bond fan. I will say that straight up. He's one of the worst Bonds. He's got maybe two good ones. GoldenEye's great.
GoldenEye's good.
The other ones are okay.
Is it Tomorrow Never Dies with the news guy?
Yeah, Tomorrow Never Dies.
That one was pretty good.
It's okay. It falls apart, but it's okay.
I think there was a Bond movie in 2002, wasn't there?
Die Another Day.
Die Another
and
Day.
that is the end
Yes.
of Brosnan's Bond.
Thank God.
Because the second you introduce invisible cars and like surfing down a 400-foot tidal wave or something, I don't remember. I saw that movie in theaters, and I remember thinking while watching it,
Parasailing.
we are not going to have another Pierce Brosnan James Bond movie because there's nowhere you can go. You can't go anywhere else.
Parasailing down a giant wave, and I think he's just on like a chunk of metal, like he's freaking tail spinning his way down this wave. Yeah, it's trash. And going back and watching the Pierce Brosnan ones, there's just very little consistency with them. But I was kind of starting to get more interested in James Bond, and then Austin Powers came out, and I was like, this is hilarious. It was big into SNL, great character. The spoofs work really, really well because it's gag humor. A lot of things that look like a penis that are not a penis. Which is very British humor, and he's playing a Brit, so I liked it. Second one ups the ante a little bit with Mini-Me and Fat Bastard and introduce some characters. Pretty good as well. I would say as that goes, the supporting actress slowly kind of goes a little less to where when you get to Beyonce in the third one, she's just not an actress, right? And she does pretty good for not being an actress. But Foxy Cleopatra is not the greatest character to ever be on cinema.
Agreed.
Yeah. I actually love the first one, really like the second one, think it holds up. Third one, they basically wrote a script that was, let's see how many celebrities we can write into the script. And so as you're watching the movie, it's just Britney Spears and like the beginning montage has a bunch of them, but it just keeps happening. They wrote them right into the script. And Mike Myers has said, we wanted to see how many people we could get away with just writing them in and seeing if they'd show up. And he said everybody showed up.
Interesting.
So, but as you watch, that's exactly it.
I was hoping at least a couple would have said no.
As you go, throughout the movie, it just kind of starts to drag down where it's like, this is just you referencing celebrities that have nothing to do with the time frame or anything. So
that makes it a real small window.
Yeah.
Like it works that year. It's not going to work in 2024.
Yeah.
Well, they had the big hit from the MTV Movie Awards, right? They did a big spoof with, what's his name now? I'm totally drawing a blank. Ben Stiller. There we go. With Ben Stiller playing the stuntman for
Tom Cruise.
So they did that bit, and then the next
that was
year,
for Mission Impossible.
Well, they did that, and then they shifted the next year, and they did the Austin Powers thing. So it was this. It just feels like more of that.
Okay.
Right. It feels like we've kind of moved this world where you're just doing an MTV. Are you guys just hanging out? Like what is happening in this movie?
It's a movie.
It went from being a parody movie to a spoof movie, and it's okay.
And it's an okay spoof movie.
That's solid analysis there, Scott.
Yeah.
Thanks.
The rap with Mini-Me and him,
Yeah.
and that's where every time I watch it, I shut it off.
And the
That's as far as I ever make it.
playing with the subtitles.
Yep.
Where
Just got old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just gags.
Yeah.
Just little gag after gag after gag.
A lot of visual gags. But yeah, it just the whole movie just eventually just kind of peters out, which is probably why it was the last one, right? And it's like, all right, I think we've beat this to death.
Yeah.
But now they're talking about a fourth one, so yeah. Thoughts on that?
I'll watch it. And
I probably
hope
won't.
that it's good.
What they should do is spoof when Sean Connery came back to play James Bond, because he did that twice.
Oh, right. He left. They had a new one, and then he came back as the new one.
Yeah,
sucked.
and then he came back in the 80s because there was a dispute over the rights to the book Thunderball. So there was the ability for a different group to release a movie about Thunderball, which is, I think, Never Say Never Again, which released the same year as a different Bond movie. So James Bond or Sean Connery, who is very old at this point, playing James Bond while there's actually an actual James Bond movie as well. That's what they should do. That I would do that. Do him coming back and being old. So, final take on it. Go.
It's okay.
Okay.
Definitely the worst of the three.
Yes. Gold member.
My uncle saw my brother and cousin watching this movie.
And he beat them senseless.
Told my parents that they were terrible parents. And paid for my cousin to go to a Bible camp for a week.
Oh, wow.
So hold on. Not only did your brother have to watch Goldmember, he then had to go learn about Jesus because of Goldmember?
Just my cousin, not my brother.
Okay.
My parents denied the free Bible camp.
Okay.
My cousin's mom said, okay, fine, whatever. So he had to go to Bible camp for a week for watching a bad movie.
Repent.
Oh man. Yeah, of all the bad guys too, the Goldmember is the weakest of all of them, because Mike Myers plays all the bad guys too.
He likes gold.
Yeah, likes gold, eats his skin, and roller skates. Yeah. Although I will say the pancake,
The smoking a pancake.
smoking a pancake,
Yeah, my wife.
cigar on a crepe.
My wife and I do that a lot.
It's worth it. It's worth it. There's a couple of good lines in the movie.
It's not a bad movie, but it's not a good movie.
No,
either.
and compared to the first one
Yeah.
is just fun. Tons of fun. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're coming up to the end here. We are on the last film. Scott, this one's all you.
Irreversible.
Oh, no! Oh, you put a twist. Do you really want to talk about
Hell no.
Okay. Don't.
No, we're not going to talk about
Don't.
Irreversible.
That would have been great.
Okay. So can I just like do 2 seconds on Irreversible?
Yeah.
I think we did this already, didn't we?
It's come up briefly.
I once told Tim Severson, our brother-in-law, do not watch this movie. And he said, I'm going to watch it now. And I go, Tim, I don't know how to tell you this any more directly. Do not watch this movie. Irreversible is a movie that plays backwards, but not like, I guess it is pretty much like how Memento is, where you start at the end and slowly work your way back, but there's nothing playing forward at the same time. You're just watching sequences and you're going back to see how we got to this point. The beginning of the movie is the end of the sequence. The end of the sequence is a guy getting bashed in the head with a big fire extinguisher, and it is disturbing.
It's about as graphic as you get.
If it isn't what happens when you smash someone in the face, and first of all, who the fuck learned that that's what happens?
Right.
What is the research that went into doing this?
Tested on animals first.
Oh my god! Well, they like built an animatronic, and it's like twitching and like it's leaning forward and like trying to live, and and it takes you, well, and that's the start of the film. And you're like, what could have possibly happened to lead us to this event? And then you go back through a night. But the director, and he's done other films as well, one of them on DMT, I forget what it's called, that is also a wild trip. His whole goal is to make you feel nauseous and uncomfortable and sick.
Yes, to the way that the camera moves, to the sound. I don't even want to call it a soundtrack.
No.
People pay money to watch this kind of stuff?
People went to the theater to watch this. It's a French film. I believe it's all in subtitles. Talking about this movie, every time I talk about this movie, I'm getting nauseous.
Yeah.
It is such if you want to break it down to just an effectiveness of a medium, it is amazing how effective of a medium it is. But right now, I am physically becoming nauseous because do not watch the movie Irreversible. Scott, don't talk about Irreversible.
Sorry.
Single most fucked up movie I've ever seen. Maybe Antichrist maybe tops it, but at least Antichrist doesn't make me physically ill to talk about.
Speaking of Antichrist, watching Spider-Man 1
With William Dafoe?
with William Dafoe.
Willem. Oh, yeah. So anyways, let's wrap the episode up with something maybe not more fun, but not irreversible.
Yeah, definitely more fun. I watched a movie that you have said is one of 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think 3.
One of 3 movies that you have ever paid to watch in a theater and did not finish and walked out.
Yep.
Because it was so bad.
Yes. There may be a third one. The 2 for sure are Batman and Robin. That was the first one that I was like, I can't
That was
do
the
that.
one with the cool ice skates.
That
right?
was the one where, and it's so funny because every time I watch it, I remember that I left because of the ice skates, and it's like 4 seconds in the movie.
It's the first scene.
I just wringed my hands and said, I'm out, guys. You guys can go have your fun. I'm going to look at chicks. But no, this movie, I went to it with my ex-wife. We were still young. We must have been, I don't know if we were married yet or not. But yeah, we walked out, and I have always put a weird like asterisk next to it, because we didn't know that this is a movie that they took other kung fu movies and then just redubbed.
One.
Okay, just one?
Just one.
Okay, so it's just one kung fu movie that they've changed footage around a little bit, but mostly just redubbed, and they're making jokes.
Yes. It's Kung Pao, by the way.
The movie is Kung Pao.
20th Century Fox invites you to feel the fury. Taste the passion.
You are the chosen one. One day, all will be revealed to you.
I'm sorry?
And witness the utter madness. Kung Pao. Enter the fist.
I sat in the theater next to my brushing bride to be, and thought, the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on? Because not only is it just them dubbing in jokes, but it's really childish.
It's super, super childish. We're talking second grade.
Second grade at most.
Yeah.
It is maybe the most childish movie that I've ever watched. So you said you were going to watch it.
I did say I was going to watch
I
it.
said, you know what? It's been 20 years. I'm gonna pop it on. I'm gonna see if this is. Let's see what happens. I fucking shut that movie off again.
Get out.
Nope. It's even knowing that it's just making fun of other kung fu movies. But take it away. You watched the whole thing.
So I watched half of it 2 nights ago, and I finished it last night. It was kind of tough to finish. So I had looked up a little bit about it and found out that it was a $10 million budget.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I text you guys and I said, $10 million. That's how much they gave this guy to make this movie. It should have cost $6.
You're just watching a movie and talking over it.
Yes.
And a lot of the time, it's like the one part I remember was she's like doing magic kung fu fingers to heal him. And he just keeps going, ooh, ah, ooh, 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 ah, ooh, ooh, ooh. That's the joke. That's hilarious. That's the joke.
I gotta watch that.
It is probably the most childish movie I've ever seen. I think at one point I said, this movie is fucking terrible. I love it.
Is it so bad that it's worth it, though, like as you continue forward?
There are a lot of really funny jokes in it.
Okay.
Interspersed with a lot of really terrible, terrible jokes.
Yeah, the big thing in like
That's a good joke.
That's one of the only things I remember. That and the cow. So he has gophers that he makes into nunchucks. And then there's a cow that they have a Matrix style fight scene with,
Yes.
also Gumby animation. And it's like shooting milk from its udders, and it's, this camera spinning around. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, right? So with the previews for this movie, I was like, oh, this looks zany and campy. Like I love zany and campy. That's right. I love it. And kung fu, that seems fun. I just watched Austin Powers Goldmember. Let's go. No, fuck that movie. Now having went back and witnessed it, knowing, because I honestly, for 20 years, I have put an asterisk next to this movie and said, I just didn't get it.
Clearly didn't get it.
Yeah. After I left, somebody sold that to me, and I was like, oh, well, I should probably watch that. But yet I never did.
So what it is, it's an old movie from the 70s, and it's a lot of blue screen. So he completely replaces characters from scenes with himself.
Yeah, so 10 million was to actually do the...
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just... it's so weird because it's almost in that kind of humor that I would like, because I love Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yes.
I love the Dear Reader wizard people thing it's just that he just makes up his own lines. It's very reminiscent of that.
Yeah.
But it's so childish.
It's so childish.
I don't know who it was made for. But the guy who made it wrote and directed Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls.
Oh, God. So that's how he got it made.
Yeah, and good friends with Jim Carrey. And actually, there's a lot of Jim Carrey mannerisms, or especially Ace Ventura mannerisms in the character after watching it.
Oh.
He also created, or at least was the main writer on Jimmy Neutron and Bruce Almighty.
So it was made for kids. But it wasn't marketed like that. Like it was marketed like it was like, this is a zany comedy with kung fu.
Yeah, but just the idea of somebody trying to do Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
You can't do
now
Jim
that you
Carrey.
say it, it's like, okay, I can kind of see some of that. the idea is clever as all fucking hell.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really funny jokes in this, actually. It's hard to get through, to get to all of them.
No, I didn't.
But there are, and a lot of them are just little things, like there's an old guy that like coughs a lot. And at one point they just superimpose a bug that flies into his mouth.
See, that's great. See, that's great. Yeah.
And one of the like the main girl in the movie, she just goes woo 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 like the whole movie. That's like her little thing. And I was watching some behind the scenes stuff, and they said that there was just a pause that they just needed something to happen. And it was like 2:00 in the morning, and somebody just did that, and they laughed for like 10 minutes. And they're like, okay, this isn't going to be funny. So we'll sleep on it. We'll come back tomorrow. If it's still funny, it makes it into the movie. And so it was like, it's like even they didn't know what they were going to be doing.
You need to go back to bed and sleep on that one for 20 more years.
Just little shit. There's a guy, at one point, he's going to fight this guy, and the guy takes off his shirt. And I'm thinking, that guy has funny nipples. And then the guy even comments on it. He goes, oh, yeah, what clan are you from? The Dark Nipple Clan? And then later in the movie, the guy shows up again, and he's like, your nipples look like milk duds.
Yeah, it's so bizarre because in my own little personal world, this movie is iconic in that it is that bad that I stood up and said, I have had enough. I love popcorn, love sitting on my ass. We're just watching something. You know what? I'm going to pass on all of that. Can we please go home? And then always thinking, I just didn't get it. I should give it another shot. And then giving it another shot and be like, this is exactly what I fucking remember. Even now that I know what's happening, it's a little less bizarre, but it's still just so bizarre. And it's so random. There's so many things that happen in that movie that it's just like, this is random nonsense. So
It's just bits.
Yeah.
Yep. And there was 5 or 6 times watching it where I was like, somebody wrote that.
Yep.
Somebody sat down and wrote that.
Yep.
They got paid.
And made a lot of money.
Made a lot of money. All right, that's a great place to stop with 2002 movies. We've got Jeremy Piven, but we're going to give him a little pause because I think we missed 2001, which was Black Hawk Down. 2003 is coming up. Jeremy Piven, you're doing okay. You're doing okay. You know, the hairline it's holding.
Yeah,
it's holding. But we'll be back with Jeremy Piven in 2003. Final take on 2002 movies, Gabriel Johnson.
A lot of sequels.
A lot of sequels. Yeah. Did you say what your favorite sequel of the bunch would be?
Oh, boy. Probably Potter.
Okay. It sounded like
Harry Potter.
It sounded like the Santa Claus 2.
It's not a great movie, but it's a good movie. I like the Santa Claus 2.
Kids Christmas.
The Mrs. Claus. You got to get married.
Yeah, the kids' Christmas movies works. Scott, movies in general.
Great.
Yeah,
a lot of good stuff this year. Lots that we didn't even talk about.
Yeah, and that's kind of the crutch of this type of episode is that there's so many movies that you could go into forever, right? You could just we could talk about Spider-Man for 5 hours. It's that good of a movie. And Austin Powers, same thing. Like we could have went into just Austin Powers, and I'm glad we didn't. Because it's better to just talk shit about Austin members. Gold power. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my take on it is, great year, actually. These were some pretty fun movies to watch. I enjoyed going through the Lord of the Rings again. I actually really enjoyed that. I had it was a long process.
I was going to say, you're the one who always complains about movies being too long.
Yeah, you guys just keep talking. Process. You both say you like it, but you just only talk shit about it. You have nothing good to say about Lord of the Rings.
It's good. No, I always say it's good. It's how I feel about Gangs in New York. Like, Gangs in New York, you start and you're like, God, why do I talk shit about this movie all the time? And then by the end, I was like, fucking Christ.
Just kill him already.
Jesus Christ, we get it. This is fucking New York. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be in the future. And then they do that thing at the end with the buildings that become the future of New York. It's like, can we just cut to that? Skip forward. All right, ladies and gentlemen, 2002, pretty good year. We will be back next week with some kind of game. Not a Taco Tuesday, but some kind of game. We'll try to get a guest in here. play something, and then we'll be shifting back to news. So let's get started with that. A lot of really weird things happening lately, so that could be fun. And then, of course, we'll be wrapping right back around into. Actually, we got to do a draft.
Okay.
So maybe we'll do a draft next week. You want to do a draft next week? Should we do a draft next week?
I'm
looking at
Let's
you.
draft it.
I'm asking you. Should we do a draft? Okay, we'll do a draft next week instead, and then we'll push the game off. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next week, and then start looking at 2003. Start shooting stuff over to us. A lot of fun conversing with you guys about everything that you enjoy, and then start showing us movies and stuff. And yes, just a reminder to all of you out there, Kung Pao is as terrible as I thought it was. And don't fucking watch Irreversible. Don't do it.
There's no coming back.
Just don't do it. Do yourself a favor and don't do it. And with that, we're done.
When you were dirty as fuck.
I fell
your
in the
elbow.
fucking mud.
Look at his elbow.
I know. I said clue for the treasure hunt for today. I fell in the fucking mud, and I don't mean
And
like
didn't clean up
well,
at all.
I didn't have time.
Did not wipe my elbow.
Water.
Oh, come on.
You take a shower. Just clean up your fucking elbow. Just covered in dirt. Covered in dirt.
Not you.
Yeah.
Yeah, not me. It was a hurry.
What?
That's
What the hell did you just licked
It's
a
dry.
Clorox wipe?
It's dry. God damn you.
The hell was that?
Who gives a shit?
tasting the Clorox for freshness.
Yeah, dirty mouth. Clean it up with Clorox wipes.
There's no Clorox left.
Yeah, it's all in your mouth.
It's as dry as a bone. All right, let's go.